Good morning, everyone. I had the pleasure and the honor of working with Deane at Ford Motor Company as a millwright. And Nick was everything that the last gentleman said he was. He was a fantastic millwright, but he was a lot better man. And if you knew Nick, you knew the family. You knew about the boys. You knew how Nick was so proud that his two oldest boys had grown into wonderful men. Reflections of Nick and Timmery. You knew about the coach. You knew about Jordan. You knew about his knowledge and his love of the game. And you knew about Mariah. And when he talked about her, there was a twinkle in his eye that, as the father of a daughter, I understood. And when he spoke of Timmery, the girl he chased around in high school and finally caught, he spoke of her with such love and such conviction. He said multiple times, and this is Nick's words, "She is the most beautiful woman in the world. I'm so lucky to have her." And he meant it. Nick didn't say things unless he meant it. And Nick was a good teacher. You know, we were millwrights together, and he had a way of getting you to do things sometimes that you didn't necessarily want to do. But that was Nick. We had a lift, and it's not a big lift. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the scissor lift. It's got a basket about 4.5, 5 feet long, about 2.5 feet wide. And I think the weight limit's 500 pounds. So Nick and I had to go up in it. So you know where the weight limit went, right? Right out the door, it's gone. And we're taking about an 80-pound motor up to change on an overhead door. I absolutely do not like heights. I don't like them, don't want anything to do with them. This is about my limit right here. And I said to Nick, "You know, Nick, is this a two-man job?" And Nick said, "No, I can stay on the ground, you know." And that's not what I was looking for. And so we get in the basket, and we have this motor, and we're going up. And the higher you go, the more movement is exaggerated. You know, if you're moving an inch at the ground, 20, 30 feet in the air, you're moving a foot. So we get up there, and I'm holding on with one hand, trying to help Nick with this motor. And I'm like, "Nick, this is not real comfortable." You know, he's like, "Come on, Marine, you're supposed to be tough, right?" Okay, so Nick reaches out, we get the motor in place. He's wrenching on it. We finally get it done. I'm hanging on like this, you know, and we get down to the ground, and I look at Nick, and he's sweating, and he's got this look on in his eyes, and I said, "Nick, what's the matter?" He says, "I don't like heights." Well, neither do I. That was the point, you know. But he had a way of getting you to do things, you know. And it was out of love. It was never selfish. Nothing about Nick was selfish, you know. Nick was a man who, he lived his faith. He didn't just talk his faith. He was the walking embodiment of his faith. Everything he did was based in that. When he taught you a lesson, or he gave you, like he did with me, wise counsel so many times, it was faith-based with examples from the Bible. You know, Nick had his playbooks. I know the Seaholm and the Troy people know. You know, Nick had his playbooks. He had God's playbook in his hand at all times. And that's how Nick lived his life, you know. It was incredible just to know Nick and to know his family, you know. And I mean, I have to believe that Nick even affected the weather today, knowing Nick. What a wonderful day, right? I mean, it's such a tragic loss, you know. Words can't describe it. Another quick Nick story. I've got like probably 50 of them at least. This is about football. You know, Nick loved football. Everybody here knows Nick loved football. okay? We're driving in a cart, taking water bottles, 5-gallon water bottles to fill up the water coolers. And we're talking, and Nick's describing this play to me. And I'm old school, right? I'm from the 70s. And Nick's describing this play. It's a double right something, split out, curl hook, something. And it probably had a veer in it somewhere, okay? And he's talking with his hands, and I have no clue what he's talking about, right? Well, this corner comes up on us real quick. Nick takes a hard left, and we shoot water bottles all over the floor. Made a big mess, and Nick says, well, we better get a cleaner on that right away. Steps on the gas pedal and starts talking about a D2 prospect that's at his school. It's like, yeah, that was what Nick was about. He was about football. He was about family. He was about goodness. He was about love. And there's no way to replace him. You know, and I guess that's it. I lost my train of thought, sorry. Thank you for giving me the honor of speaking about Nick Deane. And thank you, everybody.